Okay, on the fifth part of the mini course of acoustic, for this acoustic mini course, what I'm going to show you are basically two different chords, a minor seventh and then a sus chord. And I'm going to show you how to play them. I'm going to show you 4 total different chords. Okay, but 2 of them are going to be minor sevenths, 2 of them are going to be sus chords. Okay, these are really cool chords, and they're really not that hard to play. Okay, so don't be like, oh, minor seventh, that sounds weird. No worries, it's not going to be hard. So let's start out with the E minor chord. Remember this? Okay, to make any minor chord into a minor seventh chord, you start with a minor chord and then you add the interval of a minor seventh. Don't worry if you don't know what that means, because I'm going to show you how to play the chord. But just in case you were wondering, like, how do I turn a G minor chord into a minor seventh chord? Well, you just add a minor seventh. Okay. If I wanted to turn, a C minor chord into a C minor 7, I would turn it, just basically add the minor seventh. So don't worry about that. What you need to know is, if you take this E minor chord in open position like this, okay, to make this chord a minor seventh chord, I need to add 1 note, and that's going to be the minor seventh, which is going to be here. Okay, so then I have this sound. Okay. Doesn't that sound cool? So that's that E minor seventh, and I was just switching back to like a D kind of add 9 thing. But just going back from from E minor 7, that was just an example of how you can use that chord. Now the other cool chord is this A minor seventh. All right, so what we're going to do is start with our A minor chord. Okay, now to make this chord a minor seventh, all you need to do is lift up this finger. And I've got that sound. Okay, and that's going to sound great going over to a C chord as well. Check it out. Okay, so those are our 2 minor seventh chords in open position. Really important. Of course, you can play minor sevenths in a bar chord form anywhere on the fretboard, but I just wanted to show them to you in the open position because obviously this is kind of a beginner's course, and I think this is probably the most important one to know as an acoustic guitarist because it uses the open strings. So E minor 7, A minor 7. All right, now let's look at 2 sus chords. Now a sus chord is basically going to be it's a sus 2 chord, and actually sus 4 chords as well, but we're not going to talk about those. We're just going to talk about sus 2s. Sus 2s, what you're doing is you're essentially replacing the third of the chord with the interval of a second. That's why it's called a sus 2, because the interval of a second. Okay, so to make this chord, and how you use it basically is anywhere you have a chord that's either an A major or an A minor chord, you could use an A sus 2. So if you have a tune that's like, it's got this old A major chord in it, we could easily just make it an A sus 2. Okay, and then wherever you have a D chord, you could easily make it a D sus 2. Okay, now let me show you how to play it. The A sus 2, let's start out with our A major chord. Now, to make this a sus 2, all I'm going to do is lift up this finger and then let this B string ring out, and I've got, okay, and from A to B, that's that 2, that interval of a 2 or a second that I was referring to earlier. Okay, it sounds really good. See, I'm going from A sus 2 to C. Okay, and again, I'm using this finger right here as my pivot note. Okay, so that's the A sus 2 chord. Sounds really good. Anywhere you have an A minor chord or an A major chord, you can use A sus 2. Now, finally, we have this D major chord, right? to make it a sus chord, or a sus2, all we do is drop out this note, raise this finger up, and we have E instead of F sharp, so it's going to sound like, okay. Okay, I can go from E, D sus2 maybe to a C. Or maybe a D sus2 to an A chord. Or even an A sus2. How about D sus2 to A sus2? Okay, so that is your E minor 7, A minor 7, A sus2, and D sus2. So some new chords for you to work on. Hope you enjoyed the mini course, and for more tips and tricks, you can always go to guitarzoom.com. I'm Dan Denley, and thanks for watching.